keep it real with ya.
Oh, okay. Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm here. Oh God, how do I just start these things again? Happy Sunday, everybody. It's me, Minu, back with another video. I did make a rant last week when I was talking about polyamory. I know I mentioned in the last video that I was gonna rant about that too. I'll say that for next week because I really want to talk about the inner child workshop. Oh, also, Morticia and Sadie are in timeout, so you will not be seeing them in this video because I don't know how, but when I was gone to the store to buy more locks to lock up the cat food to keep it out of their hands, they got past the child locks in my kitchen cabinet and somehow got back into my wheat bread again. Now, I tell you, this is the second time in the past week because in the past week, they got all the way past it, pulled out the entire loaf of wheat bread, and then ate it on the ground. And I know it's mostly Sadie because Sadie likes wheat bread. And also Sadie had diarrhea. Morticia did not have diarrhea because apparently she was eating paper towels. So she was constipated. So I was like, that's what your ass get. Hopefully you learn from this. She did not learn from it. So I came home to find my kitchen in disarray and a slice of wheat bread on the floor, half eaten. And literally, as I was standing there gawking at, oh my God, I can't believe this happened again, Sadie came back, licking her lips, ready for another bite. I don't know what to do with her. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about inner child stuff, fun stuff. So I started an inner child workshop. Oh, by the way, yeah. I told my therapist best I can do is give them $100 a month. I can't pay for all these fucking sessions. It's so much, but they want me to keep seeing them because they know how important it is for my mental health. So starting group, which is also another charge that's gonna be on a payment plan. And it's an inner child workshop. So my first inner child workshop was about a week and a half ago. The next one is going to be this week. And so before that happened, I wanted to process what happened in the first one. So for some context here, is my trauma therapist leading the group. She is actually doing 2 inner child groups. So every week she's doing an inner child group, and then every other week I'm in her group. So she'll do, one with a completely separate group of people, and then she'll do the next week with my group. And she did that because just so many people wanted to be in a group. But she's not just like leading the group, she's also participating in the group. And I was like, how the fuck are you doing this every single week? And she was like, oh, I'm just really in touch with my inner child. So all of this stuff that I'm doing is like, me and my inner child, we tight, we got it, we're good. And I was just like, can't imagine. Can't relate. Nope. Cannot relate at all. So I get to this, and I purposefully did not go to the first group. I signed myself out, and she was like, yeah, I saw you did that. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then she was like, well, the second one's going to have a couple people from a group you've been in before, so maybe it'll be more comfortable for you. I said, well, I got to give it at least one shot. I can't just, and she was like, yeah, literally, like, we won't allow any new people to just come in and come out because of how intensive and vulnerable it's going to be. So I was like, okay, let me give it one shot. So I get to this group, and the first thing we're told to do, we're given jumbo crayons, and we're given like these big ass pads of paper. But the first thing we do is we are given a sheet of paper, and we're told to write our name. We're going to write our regular name, and then we're going to write a name that we were called as a child. So I put my regular name, but the name that I was called as a child, instantly inner child mad. She's like, why the fuck did you write that? And so I literally found myself hiding the name that I was called as a child because literally nobody calls me that except for family members. And the nickname was given to me, I'm pretty sure it was given to me by my mother. And I didn't like the spelling of it. I always spelled it differently despite people who refused to spell it the way that I wanted to spell it, because it really wasn't my nickname. It was, my mom gave me the nickname. That's what they called me, whatever. And it was just frustrating. And so me at this point being no contact with my family, immediately my inner child was like, why are we even bringing this name up? We don't fuck with those people no more. And so it was difficult, and we had to go around, say our name, and like say why we wrote it. And we folded the thing into like a triangle, I guess. So there was 3 sides of the paper, and there was a third side. And on the third side, I wanted to put Minu, because that's the name that I like to go by. That's a nickname that I gave myself, that I chose to have myself. And none of my friends actually referred to me as Minu. I think when I started this channel, one of my friends was like, oh, do you like going by that? I can call you that if you want. And I was like, I mean, I would like it if you called me that, but I won't be offended if you don't. Because it's a name that I made up for myself. And I'm sure it's like culturally, there are cultures where it's a real name, and I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying in the early 2000s, when I was on the dial-up internet, I did not find characters or people with that name. And so I chose it because I was like, you know, you choose something because you're like, okay, I'm not copying anyone, or I'm not, you know, like appropriating anything. Like literally that was my thing when I chose the name. And I think if I Google now, I'm sure I'll find some people with that name from other countries and stuff. It was not to copy any type of celebrity or artist or anything. It was just a name that I made up. And that's why I just wanted to say that, because I know it's not a lot of like super wokey people in this community that we've created because of the type of stuff that I say. But if there was some, just know I never intended to copy anyone. If you find out somebody else has that name and it's like their real legal government name, good for them. I didn't choose to copy anybody. Early 2000s, I just made up the name. And I thought that was something interesting in one of my other videos, that one of my commenters said that Minu means like my and mine in Estonian. And I was like, where even is Estonia? And now with the shit that's going on, I know exactly where Estonia is, because it is not far from Ukraine. But I thought that was really interesting. And when I told my trauma therapist that, she was like, you telling me this at the end of the session? Bitch, we got so much more to work on and address with that alone. And I was like, I'm sorry. It's just so much happened. But she was like, well, it makes sense why you would want to protect that name. And I was like, it does make sense why I want to protect that name. Because like I said, like Minu is a name that I gave myself. It's not a name that someone else gave me. Barely anyone in my family referred to me by that name. I usually would go online and use that name sometimes. Sometimes I use my real name. Sometimes I use both. Only like I probably would say 2 people in my family started calling me by that name. And I was very close with those 2 people until, you know, I stopped fucking with everybody altogether. And then I think that's pretty much it. I don't think anybody else like actually called me that name or wrote that name on gifts or whatever. And for me, it was kind of like a respect thing. It was kind of like, you know, if you call me Minu, to me, it feels like you feel close enough to me to like embrace that side of me, I guess. Versus like these other 2 names that my mother gave me. I didn't choose those names. They were just given to me and I just deal with them. I don't know. I like being called Minu. Like I said, the very first video on this channel, I like Minu. That's my nickname that I gave myself. I like being called Minu. I like it when you guys call me Minu. It just is what it is. I've not given anybody in my personal, and like I've not given like my therapist or anyone that I work with or anything like that permission to call me that. I do not list that as my preferred name at work. You know, they just call me my government name. I don't know you like that. You just call me my government name, please. Thank you. Okay. So we went through all of that, which was already very triggering. And she was like, y'all know I'm being nice to you right now. This is the nice part. This ain't even the heavy shit. And so then we get into our first activity, which is where we get this. We're giving some jumbo crayons. Jumbo crayons are really, really big in inner child work because of the fact that, you know, that's something that you would have used as a child. And even if you were a kid and you didn't get to have jumbo crayons, having crayons period is just a kid thing. It helps put you in that kid mindset. Because even when you're a kid, you have these little bitty hands, and even regular crayons are big to you. So we're given jumbo crayons, and our first task was to draw our family. Now, before I even show you what I drew, we were supposed to draw our family members as animals, and some people immediately felt a lot of emotions about it. I didn't really feel any emotions. I was like, well, I know I'm gonna have to do something with these crayons that you gave me. But when I started drawing, I started with myself, and then as I was like, man, I have such a huge enmeshed family that I have to, like, I'm gonna be drawing forever. Like, I won't be done. But I got to a point where I literally started dissociating while I was drawing, and I forgot what animals were. And I was literally having to ask people to show me what they were drawing so I can remember how to draw stuff. Like, that's how much I was being pulled out of what I was doing. And then at some point, even my trauma therapist noticed. She was like, at some point, you just full on dissociated. And when I walked up to you, you jumped like you didn't know I was walking up to you because you were just completely out of it. And I was like, that's crazy. I felt like I got to a point where there was nothing in my head anymore. And it was weird. And I was like, at first I was thinking, like, oh God, drawing with jumbo crayons, my drawing's so ugly. What else was thinking as I was drawing? Oh, I have to draw every single person in my family because we're so enmeshed. And then I was trying to think about, like, oh, well, I'm drawing this, and I need to draw this, and I need to draw this, and I need to draw this. And then I got to a point where there was nothing in my head. No thoughts. Couldn't make it work. So, like, I don't know exactly when the dissociating started, but at some point it just was like, and that was it. So that was very frustrating. Another thing that happened was people started going before I felt fully done with my drawing. And there was a part of me, there was my inner child, and you can have multiple inner childs at different ages. I think I definitely have more than one. So I don't know which one this one was, but she was like yelling, and she was like, I want to show what I did. I want to show what I did. But other people were going. And as people were going, of course, they were getting emotional, and, we were holding space for them. We were letting them talk. We were not rushing anyone. We were being very soft voiced. We were like, thank you so much for sharing with us. And, we were like empathizing with people. So it took a long time for someone to actually share, whatever it is that they drew. And so my inner child was like, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And I was like, shut up. And it's like so unfortunate because that's how I was talked to as a child. And my immediate reaction was for me to be like, shut up and go in your room. I put her metaphorically into her room and locked her up because I don't know if it's that I didn't feel safe. I probably didn't feel safe, but also I felt like it was other people's turn. You know what I mean? And like people were having all these really heavy feelings. And also for some reason, my therapist said she didn't do it on purpose, but for some reason, over half the class were victims of narcissistic parents. So that was triggering. That was heavy. But it's like I was so busy like trying to hold space for those people and like wanting to care for those people as they were being vulnerable, because as a child, it was never about my feelings. It was about other people's feelings. So I immediately went to this mode of like wanting to care for them, that I could not allow myself. And like, even the words coming to my mind right now, be selfish. Like, it's not selfish to want to participate in the discussion and do the activity that we're doing. But for me, being someone who has to put everyone first all the time, I could not even let myself go and show what I drew and talk about my family, because I was like, I have to take care of everyone else in this room now. Everyone at my table had narcissistic parents. Everyone at my table had trauma, and as they were going and getting emotional and like being about to cry, I just like locked everything inside of me away so that I could hold space for that person. I did not feel comfortable being sad with them. I didn't even feel comfortable saying anything. I wasn't sure what would come out of my mouth if I opened it. So I left it closed. Because I also have a fear of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I tend to do that. When I am expressing myself, I don't be using words in the way that, other people use words. Sometimes I be saying shit and they be like, where you come from with that? Out my mouth. I don't know. Like literally when they were giving us these and like telling us we were going to draw with jumbo crayons and shit, I was like, are we allowed to use our dominant hand? And people were like looking at me like, what? And my trauma therapist was like, yes, you can use your dominant hand. And people were like, wait, that was a legitimate question? What? Minu? And I was sitting here like, yeah. They was just like, what it... I didn't understand. I didn't understand what was wrong with the question. I was like, yeah. Are you going to be nice to us in inner child workshop? No, she's not. She's going to throw us in the deep end, get us all emotional in our feelings, make us be vulnerable, make us be uncomfortable, and then we're going to process it out. So I was just like kind of shut down at a certain point. And then there was this moment where and this all happened before I made that video, the most recent asexual video. And so then I was at a moment where my therapist was like, do we want to keep going? Because we're running out of time, obviously, because, you know, people start sharing stuff and they just keep going. And she was like, you want to keep going, or do we want to do some kind of like relaxation exercises to kind of like help everybody like calm down? And I'm sitting here shaking, like still like, and I'm finally like, I'm like, I gotta say something. And so I go and I say, look, I want to do a relaxation exercise. I know we're not going to get to everybody in this session. I need help relaxing, because everybody, they going home to somebody. They got partners and siblings and family. I'm going home by myself. I need help relaxing. And so I realized, I was like, I want to relax. I like used my voice right. And then I think like 2 other people were like, oh no, I want to keep going. And then everybody else was like, oh, I want to keep going. And I could sense that there was some people who wanted to. I'm so sensitive to this shit. I could sense that there was some people who wanted to relax, but they were afraid to say something because they felt outnumbered by the people who were saying they wanted to keep going. So they ended up siding with the people who wanted to keep going. And so my therapist was like, okay, well, we'll keep going. And then somebody was like, well, now I feel bad for the people who want to relax. I'm sitting over here like, the people? It's just me. I'm over here. I immediately was triggered. I was like, I know some of you motherfuckers want to say something, but ain't nobody want to say nothing. So it's just me saying something. And now I'm upset. But I was like, oh, no, everything is fine. You guys did. My feelings don't matter. It's okay. That's how I was on the outside. But on the inside, I was like, you motherfuckers. And then afterwards, as everyone was leaving, my therapist was like, anyone who still wants to do the relaxation exercise, we can stay afterwards and do the relaxation exercise. So we'll stay later to do that. She was willing to do that for us. And then I noticed I wasn't the only one who stayed. And so when those people sat down, and I was like, I sensed it was you, motherfucker. Like, on the outside, I was being so nice. I was like, oh, it's great. We can do this relaxation and help calm down. But on the inside, I was like, oh, so now you want to relax, but you voted against me when she asked who wanted to relax. I see how it is. Like, that's literally how I was on the feeling on the inside. And then when my therapist was like, what's some things we can do, like, that our inner child would want to do? And I've mentioned this in videos before, where my inner child does not, she didn't get to be a child. So when you ask me what my inner child wants to do, she's like, well, either we gonna dissociate or we gonna drink alcohol. Like, what you want to do? And I'm like, neither one of those are healthy. And then other things that I did as a child, I struggle to do now because my brain fights dissociation sometimes. So it's like, I'm not going to allow you to dissociate by watching TV. I'm not going to allow you to dissociate by reading, but I will allow you to dissociate, like regular dissociate, where you just sit there and stare at nothing for who knows how long. So don't know what the brain wants. But yeah, so we were like working through things, and my therapist was like, well, what I know about you is I know you like talking, I know you make your videos, and that helps you process things, so I think you should make a video. And I was like, cool. Leave that, go to physical therapy a couple days later, get all up in there. She's talking to my inner child. She's like, we're talking to 8-year-old Minu now. I was like, where the fuck you get the number 8? Like, gosh, I don't know how she be knowing. How does she know these things about me? And I was like, where do you get the number 8? That's such a powerful number, a powerful age for me. I've never said anything to you about what age I was, but 2 ages that she's brought up before is like 8-year-old Minu and 2-year-old Minu. Makes sense. Go through all of that, and she's like, oh, you know, we're doing so well. And I was like, so what's next? She's like, well, once we finish this one thing, you'll be healed. Never. Immediate trigger word. You do not ever tell someone who has trauma or trauma history, you do not use the words healed, and you do not use the words cured. You don't use those words. My trauma therapist literally was like, if there was ever a big red button that you ain't supposed to push, it's that. You don't push the healed. You don't push that on someone who has trauma. You don't say that on someone who has trauma. Maybe healing. I say the words healing journey. You don't say healed. You don't say you do this one thing and then you're healed. You don't say that. Both of my therapists was like, I fucking hate that word. And I was like, I see, because I was triggered. I was like, how you gonna calm me down? You done calm down my pelvic floor muscles and you say that as I'm walking out the door? Now I'm tight again. This some bullshit. And then I saw that A shit and I got so mad and I was like, you know what? Fuck everything. I'm yelling at the camera today. I was just so fucking triggered. And like, I was like bleeding and in pain and everything like the whole past week over just that stuff. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. But, sorry, back to inner child workshop. But yeah, so my inner child came out a little bit and then I pushed her back in because I was like, it's not safe. It's not safe. We don't get to talk right now. It's everybody else's turn. Everyone else is more important to us. We don't let her get out. So I'm going to end it right here because this video is going to get really, really long. And I don't want y'all to have to sit through a really long video. And I don't want to have to make chapters for the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this here. And when we come back next week, I am going to show you my family, the family that I drew here on this paper, and I'm going to explain to you who all the people are, how I feel about them, and why I drew them as what I drew them as. But next time you see that video, I will have gone through my second group, so I will also probably, you know, make another video talking about how my second group went. So we're going to be a little bit behind what happens in real life, but I mean, if we're being honest, like a lot of YouTubers make their shit way in advance anyway. So you're not super behind with me. With them, they've made their stuff weeks ago, and you're just now seeing it. With me, it's been like a week. You're like a week behind. It's okay. It's okay. So, like I always say, take care of yourself, guys, because you deserve it. I love y'all. I will see you in the next video. We're going to talk about some more inner child stuff. We're going to talk about some more healing, and you know, maybe you guys can do this at home yourself, and we can share how we felt about that. But until I see you next week, love you. Take care of yourself because you deserve it. Bye.